So the KLR First Ride video went a little long, so I had to cut that short. This is part 2. If you've not watched part 1, make sure you check the description down below for a link to the part 1 video. And here we go. Man, it's a beautiful day to ride, that's for sure. I'm having a blast, even on Jordan's KLR. You know, it doesn't really matter what you're riding. What matters is you're getting your knees out there in the breeze and enjoying the life and enjoying the outdoors and being free. It's really a lot of what riding motorcycles are, and that's what a lot of us have in common, is that freedom aspect we get from being on 2 wheels. I like his KLR. The body system on this is different. It actually feels pretty narrow up here at the tank. For a riding position, you can tuck your knees in pretty tight. A little bit of twisties in here, and I'm probably being a little conservative and riding the center a little bit as long as nobody's coming. I don't know Jordan's bike, and I don't want to get myself out of my comfort zone and do something stupid and tear up someone else's motorcycle. But it seems to handle pretty good. I'm sure if I got a little more used to it, a little more confident with it, I could roll through those even faster. I wasn't really paying attention to how fast I was going. I was surprised just now to look down and see I was doing 70 on it. Not surprised it'll do it, I'm just surprised I was doing it. It's like we're getting ready to swap back. There's a gravel road down here, and I think we're gonna swap bikes back and ride back toward the shop. And get back to the shop, we'll do some talking about what we think of this. Back it on to the stock DR. So, you know, the biggest thing I noticed besides the weight and the height, you know, the physical attributes, as far as motor, was the throttle response. So, when I give this thing that kind of crack in the throttle, I hear it jump, I feel it pull more. That one seems like it pulls slower. I don't know. It could all be me, it could all be the weight. I mean, you know, that's a heavier bike. He's got it loaded down with a lot of extra gear. All right, well, we're back in the shop, and Jordan rode my DR for a little bit, and he let me ride his KLR650. And, you know, immediately the first thing I noticed is just how much taller his bike is compared to this bike. And he's going to explain why here in a second. He already, you know, kind of told me about it, because I was like, man, this bike is tall. I'm tippy-toeing just to, you know, maintain once my weight is on it. I've got to get on the foot peg to get on it when it's empty. But once I'm on it, I can touch the ground tippy-toed. But also, the other thing I felt was different, besides, you know, the obvious things of the body panels and some of that stuff, though, was the throttle response is just a different feel in the DR versus the KLR. I'm not saying it's worse or better or anything like that. It just feels like, and this bike's empty, it doesn't have, you know, all the bags and all the loaded down stuff, but I felt like when I would crank on the throttle in the DR, it is a little more peppy feeling, but I don't know that it's faster. Jordan's rode a lot of DRs and a lot of KLRs, and he can probably tell you what he thinks about it, because he swapped back and forth and rode both bikes also.
So, as far as the height is concerned, Mike, my bike does have full upgraded suspension. I'm running a Cogent Mojave rear shock, and the spring on this bike is set up for my weight. I'm not sure what you weigh. I'm like 300 pounds, well, probably over 300. In the summertime, I wear this Climb gear, which is a little bit heavier of a gear. So I'm pushing 300 pounds, so, you know, that's going to bring the height up, because it is sprung tighter than your bike, for example. And on top of that, I do have 1-inch raising links, which obviously raise the rear of the bike up. The same with the front. I have tighter front springs and everything, so everything's picked up on my bike, which I noticed on your bike. I'm pretty sure you have stock suspension. It was, you know, really squishy, and your bike was actually pretty tall for stock suspension. And I've got buddies that have KLRs with stock suspension. I sit on one of them, and I feel like I've just deflated the bike because it sits so far down. So the DR, I can tell you, stock for stock, the DR would probably have more ground clearance and a taller seat height than a stock KLR650.
Well, that explains why I felt like I was up in the clouds on your bike.
Yeah, most likely. I mean, I'm 6 foot tall. I like a tall bike. So one thing I didn't mention is my bike actually has a low seat. It came on the bike when I bought it, and I'm like I said, I'm tall. I'm like, oh, why would I want a low seat? That's going to cramp me up. So one huge difference I noticed between me and Mike's bike is when I sit on Mike's bike, stock seat, stock foot pegs, I felt more cramped. My legs were more up and cramped up. My bike, even with a low seat, now granted, I do have some billet aluminum pivot pegs, but they're in the factory location as far as I know. I was way more comfortable, you know, with my knees being a little bit lower on my KLR than the DR. But the DR obviously is more of an off-road bike than the KLR is.
Yeah, and I commented on that when I was riding it that, you know, if I only had one bike to choose to ride all the time between the two, yeah, it would probably be this one.
Oh, good job, little buddy.
If that was the only bike I had to ride for everything. Now,
you could pay me to own a KLR.
But being that I have a touring bike also for riding on the street, I kind of really am happy that I went with the DR, because what I wanted this for was more off-road style riding, and I think it's more fun for that.
So Mike, you're exactly right. A DR650 is actually, well, I say exactly, is a good second bike for most riders. So I've owned two DR650s. I've owned a 2009, which was identical to Mike's, and then I owned a 93. Both bikes are fantastic bikes. I enjoyed them a lot. But the KLR is obviously more highway oriented. This is my only bike. I have no other bikes. And the reason I got rid of my last DR650, I took it on a 300-mile trip, and about 150 miles in, I hated it. And a lot of people kind of place the three big dual sports, which is the KLR, the DR, and the XR from Honda. They place it for highway, kind of in the middle, and then the XR being the more off-road version. To me, you got the KLR, which kind of does a little bit of everything just okay. And then there's no middle bike. Then you have the DR and the XR in the same category, in my opinion. The XR being slightly more off-road, but definitely, if I was to ride a DR650, again, nothing wrong with doing this. I've known people that tour the world on a DR650, but me personally, as much highway and traveling I do, I love the wind protection and everything of the KLR650.
Well, Jordan, I really appreciate the opportunity to ride your bike. I know that's not something you just let anybody do. So I'm feeling pretty special right now. And I told you, everybody, that they need to go check out your channel and give you a little love. I really appreciate you sharing this experience with me and my subscribers. And I just can't say thank you enough.
Yep, I appreciate it, Mike. I'm glad we can get together and make the video. And like I said, check out my channel, Dempsey's Adventures. I'm sure Mike will throw a link down there. And
I throw links everywhere. They'll be up here and down there, and there'll be a card at the end, and you know how that stuff works. So yeah.
So one more thing I might add real quick, Mike, is that as far as like a price point, I know that's a lot of people's big thing, is KLRs are freaking cheap. You know, you can pick them up, oh God, you can pick them up all over the place from $1,500 to $3,000, you know, with modifications and upgrades. And the DRs, about 80% of the time, they're bone stock and still more expensive than a KLR. But I'm going to actually cover that, you know, kind of a little bit more in detail on my channel if you want to check that out. And because I've actually made a video while we were out today and compared the two bikes from my perspective. So if you want to check that out, yeah, just check out my channel. All
right. So I think you guys know how this goes. By the way, if you want to help support the channel, there'll be links in the description down below for my Patreon, my merch, and for the video cameras and GoPros I use. Those links take you to Amazon. They are affiliate links. Even if you don't buy any of those products, if you click that link before you go shopping on Amazon, anything you buy helps support the channel, and your support is always appreciated. So again, if you like this video, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. If you do that YouTube thing, check out the content on my channel or Jordan's channel and hit the subscribe button. And don't forget to ring that bell to be notified when a new video is dropped. And as always, thank you for your support. Stay safe and keep on riding.